L value is anything that is written towards the left side of assignment operator, and R value is anything that we write towards the right side of assignment operator. Yes, you can see this R value. Now, R value can be a constant as well as a variable. I will explain this thing by just writing a simple example. I hope you will be able to understand it quite easily. It's a very easy concept, like there is nothing much technical about it. It is more of a, you can say, related to the theory part. Okay, coming towards it. Let's say I wrote a statement A is equal to A plus B, and then I write A is equal to 7. Later on I say B is equal to A. Now what is going to happen? As I told you that right side of this assignment operator can be a variable as well as constant. So here we have written an expression as well, which means that A's value will be added to B, and then that value will be copied to the variable A. In the second part, the content 7. Now 7 is a constant. So as I told you that right side of this assignment operator can be a variable as well as a constant. So this means that 7 is copied into the variable A. And later on, now A's value was 7, which means that 7 will be copied into the variable B. So this is a very important concept, that left side of assignment operator always needs to be a variable, and right side can be a variable as well as a constant, right? So then moving onward, yes. Okay. Yes, you can see R value can be a variable as well as constant. For example, B's contents are copied into A. In the same way, we can assign the value 10 to variable A. Now, the next thing which we are going to talk is about variable declaration. What is variable declaration? The process of specifying name and data type of the variable. Now you know that in your paper 2, you need to declare each and every variable that you have used. Like if I'm going to write a simple statement, I that is going to create a logic in which even I need to use only two variables, number 1 and number 2. I still need to declare them as declare num1 comma num2, and then I need to specify the data type of that variable. So what is variable declaration? In the later part of this topic, we are going to talk about the syntax of variable declaration, that what syntax we are going to follow in the pseudocode. Till here, you need to just remember what is meant by the term variable declaration. Variable declaration refers to specifying the name and data type of the variable. That we need to tell what is the name, a suitable name to the variable, and what data type that variable has. Right? These two things you need to be familiar about the variable declaration. Now then we have a very simple syntax for variable declaration. First of all, we use the keyword declare. Then we need to write the name of the variable, a colon sign, and then we specify the data type of the variable. Just like you can see in the next part here, we used a keyword declare, then the term name. Name is the name of the variable, and then colon sign, and then string. String refers to a data type that can store a set of characters. Like when I need to write something which can have more than one character refer to more than one letter, right? So for that, I'm going to use the string data type. In the same way, we can use integer data type. In this last statement, you can see declare marks as integer. In the same way, if I want to declare some boolean variable, I can add over here declare found, let's say found is the name of the variable, and then I can specify it as Boolean. Here you would be observing that the keyword declare as well as the data type, the both things are written in uppercase. So this is a convention about the syntax of the pseudocode that keywords are written in uppercase, right? So what are keywords? Keywords are the words which have a specific meaning. Now I told you that pseudocode cannot run on any platform, but still we are going to use keywords which are used in different programming languages. So in simple words or in easy words, you can say that keywords are the words which we are going to use from a particular programming language, and then we are going to use in the pseudocode in order to use them. Now there must be some rules for naming variable. What are those rules, or what does that tell us, like how to go about it? As just to recall about the variables, variable is a named memory location, right? Now, whenever we need to declare a variable, we need to assign it a suitable name. So, in order to assign variable a suitable name, you need to have certain rules, you need to follow certain criteria. These are referred as the rules for variable naming. The first thing is that variable name can begin with a letter. Like if I want to store a variable marks 2, it cannot be 2 marks. It must begin with a letter. Then three items are included in the variable name. It can be number, it can be letter, and it can be a underscore. Anything other than that is not acceptable for writing a variable name. The next rule is that in order to improve the readability of a variable name, you need to use the camel caps. Camel caps basically refer to that we need to capitalize the first letter of each separate word which we are going to use in a variable name. Just like if I want to store the name of my pet, it can be M capital for my and P capital for pet. In the same way, if I want to use a variable named my book, M of my can be capitalized, B of the book can be capitalized, just in order to improve the readability, like the what variable actually means. The next rule says that blank spaces are not allowed. Like if I want to use a variable named as my car, it cannot be my space car. This is wrong. I should be writing my, and then I may use underscore in order to distinguish my and car, or maybe the camel caps as I discussed in the previous part. Special symbols are not allowed. What are special symbols? Hash sign, dollar sign, all these are referred as special symbols, asterisk. These are all the special symbols which you can see on your keyboard. So these are not allowed. As I told you that only three things are allowed in the variable name, which are underscore, letters, and number. So special symbols will not be allowed, or anything other than that will not be allowed in the variable name. So these were the basic parts about the variable declaration. Then moving on, that what are the basic activity that we are going to use in an algorithm. Now, three things are included in the exam, major exam of previous code, which was 9608. There was a question in which we were given one of these, and we had to explain the rest of the two. So whatever the algorithm you are going to write, it is going to consist of three basic stages, three basic activities. First one will be input, then it will be process, and then it will be output. Let me show you the question as well. I may have it in the activity path. Yes. If it's visible, I'm going to just zoom it. Yes. So it says algorithm usually consists of three different types of activities. Complete the table below. The third activity type is given, and look, they have given the third one as output. So we need to specify the rest of the two. So what are they? First one is input, and then we have to write a pseudocode example explaining the input. Then we have the other activity as process, and then we have to write a pseudocode example for that process, and then output. And output's name is given, the name of the activity type is given, but pseudocode example is not given. So let me clarify it to you by giving an example. Let me just erase this one. Yes, so first of all, if we talk about input, what is input? Input is basically asking the user to enter anything in your pseudocode. So how we are going to do it? Let me just use the pen. Okay. Yes, so for example, we need to ask the user to enter a number in order to check that whether the number is even or odd. So pseudocode example will include that first of all keyword input will be used. Then I'm going to use the variable name, which can be, let's say, num1, and then example could be if num1 mod 2 equals 0, then we are going to print even on the screen. So this is a simple example for the input. In the same way, if I'm going to change it to, for the example of output, I'm just going to remove this part, and I'm going to check if num1 mod 2 is equal to 0, print even. This print is an example of output. And what is the process part? Process part refers to evaluating to any expression. Just like if I write sum is equal to sum plus num. This is an example of process. In the same way, if I'm going to write the logic, if num1 mod 2 is equal to 0, this is also example of process. So input is the process of getting any value from the user, that is referred as input. Process refers to evaluating an expression, writing the formula, and output refers to displaying anything on the screen so that we can use that part. Right? So moving onwards, we are going to discuss about the data types. In the previous slide, we talk about the variable declaration. What does variable declaration tell us? They specify us the data type of the variable as well as name of the variable. So what is meant by the term data type? Data type basically refers to what type of data can be stored in a variable. Just like if I want to store the marks of a student, marks can be a whole number. If we talk about the Cambridge stream, they need to be a whole number. So I'm going to assign it a integer value. In the same way, if I want to store something which can be answered as yes or no, I'm going to use a Boolean variable. If I want to store the name of a student in a class, I'm going to use the variable's data type as string. So what does these data types tell us? Data types basically tell us what kind of data we can store in a variable and what sort of calculations can be carried out on data. So that just like if I want to add two string values, it is not possible for me to add the strings because string is a set of characters, they are not the numbers. But if I want to perform certain calculations, or you can say mathematical calculations on data, then I will be using the data type as integer or as real, because we know that calculations can be performed on numbers only. They can be integers, they can be real. So data type of a variable tells us what kind of data we can store in a variable. They tell us about the type of the data, that what actual value is and what calculations we can carry out on that data, right? So now we will talk about different data types. First of all, integer data type. Integer data type is used to store exact numeric value without decimal, without any fraction. They include the value which are counted. Just like if I'm counting the number of students in the class, I'm going to start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 this way. So they are the exact numbers. So integer data type is used to store exact numeric value without any decimal or fraction. Just like if I write 38, if I write 30, if I write 70, all these values are valid examples for integer value to be stored. Then comes the real data type. Real data type is used to store decimal values. They include the values which need to be measured precisely. Just like if I want to find the length of a door, so I need to have the exact measurement about it. So they can include the decimal values as well, right? So real values include the numbers or the integers which consist of decimal as well. Just like if I write 5.2, 3.7, 8.4, these are all referred as real data types because they can be used to store decimal values which can be measured precisely. Okay, then comes the char data type. Char data type is used to store individual characters. They are used to represent a single character. This single character can be written usually in single quotes. For example, if I want to initialize a particular value as a, just like in the class we did that question of inputting a character and outputting if it is vowel or not. That is also a character. So any character that can be, you can say, needed to be represented inside the computer, which is just the individual representation of the data that will be stored in the char data type, right? Even this 2 written in single quote also represents a character. What is the character value of 2? Character value of 2 will be 50 because this is what I'm referring to actually ASCII code value right now. Even if you are unable to understand it, just ignore this part for the time being. I'm going to cover this thing when we are going to make video for P1 chapter 1 about the ASCII code character. Okay, here are a few example of character. A is a character, cross X is a character, then we have asterisk symbol that is also a character, dollar sign refers to a character, 2, 4 written, any value written in single quotes refer to a character data. Then comes the string data type. String data type is used to store set of characters or more than one character at a time. String can contain letters, number, or a combination of these. Whenever while writing the code we have anything which cannot be written as an individual character, we can categorize them as a part of a string. Just like if I say Pakistan. Now Pakistan also refer to string data type which can have a set of different characters. In the same way, if I want to store the name of the student, that name is equal to Rohan. That is also referring to a set of characters which will be representing a string. So combination of characters refer to a string data type. String examples. Examples of string include Rohan is an example, 22-B, Fizza. These are all the examples for the representation of string data type. Then comes the Boolean data type. Boolean data type is used to store values. These values can be categorized as true, false, yes, no, depending on the criteria. Just like if I want to know, will it rain today? Will all the students be present in the class today? So anything which I can categorize as yes, no, or true, false form, they will be stored in the Boolean data type. Yes, you can say this found is equal to false. Will it rain today? Yes, no, true, false. So any of these values which can be answered as yes, no, true, false form, we categorize them as Boolean data type. Okay, next one is date. What is the purpose of date data type? Date data type is used to store date in a specific format. For example, we want to store the date of birth of a student. So in that case, date data type will be used. Then we have last one which is currency. What is the purpose of currency data type? It is needed to represent the amount in a specific currency. That amount can be in dollars, that amount can be in rupees, or any currency we want to store.